Real Estate Rewired.
Sounds good.
Welcome to Real Estate Rewired AI with a Heart with Gus Waite. And today I am here with Kristen Taylor. No, did I say it right? No. It's funny, your thing says Kristen Taylor. It's Angelica
No.
Taylor Kristen?
It's Angela,
Angela. All right.
not Angelica.
All right, so we'll try that again. That's why I have editors. Welcome to Real Estate Rewired AI with a Heart with Gus Waite. Today we are talking with Kristen Taylor, and she's going to tell us all about something she told me a minute ago about transforming real estate. So Angela, what are you up to?
Yeah, well, you know what? I am on a mission to change how the real estate industry coaches, trains, motivates, and treats its agents.
Why?
Because I've seen the way it has been going, and the industry is missing the boat. That's kind of a very broad overview.
Yeah, no, but I know exactly what you. No, I'll get to why I know exactly what you're talking about in a minute. But I like to start from the beginning, which is most 8-year-olds don't say, "Hey, I want to transform the real estate industry," in the way people are trained.
No.
So when you were a kid, what did you love? Like what? You know what I mean? Like how were you?
Okay, so a couple different things. One is the thing I said I wanted to do was I wanted to be the dolphin trainer at SeaWorld. I grew up in
Okay.
Orlando, going to SeaWorld, Disney World, and all of that. So that was my thing. And then at the same time, I loved playing Monopoly. I loved watching people had houses for sale. And there was a TV show it was a channel that just ran houses for sale all the time. And I would pick up the house books, that they had at the grocery store. And I was very into houses very young. I would even take old shoe boxes and turn them into doll houses.
Interesting. So there was something about like houses that just kind of fascinated you, like the
100%.
shows. And so if you could have found a house with a pool and a dolphin in it, it really would have been like
Mastery.
So then did you get into real estate relatively early?
I did. I bought my first house when I was 19, and I watched a Carlton Sheets infomercial late at night and bought it.
Dangerous.
And very dangerous. By the time I was 22, I owned 4 homes. I had gotten my real estate license, and I was like, this is amazing. And at that point, so I started to get my real estate license, took the class, passed the class, felt like I didn't have any knowledge on how to actually be an agent. And at the time, taking the test was only offered twice a year, and it was number 2 pencils and bubble sheets.
Wow.
So you had to make sure you passed. So I worked as an assistant for 2 years. So during that time period between 19 and 22, I bought 4 homes, worked as an assistant to the number 1 top producing agent in all of Orlando, Florida, and also got my license and had all the houses and did all the things. So yeah, that's what got me started.
Got it. And thinking back then, so let me tell you the story because I can identify with this, right? I used to do the training for a big big rental firm in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, they would run ads and I would be doing this training, and I would sit there and I'd realize 9 out of these 10 people are never going to close a deal. And they're kind of being sold this idea, and there just wasn't a lot of vetting of what it actually takes, what the reality is for the first couple of years, what the process is, that you're probably going to work 60, 70 hours a week for the first year, like I did in my first year in real estate, and make $21,000, that there was something missing. Is that what was your experience in terms of when you started out and what you felt like what was missing?
When I started out, okay, I'm going to back up a little bit. I have a natural ability to pinpoint patterns. It's something that's just one of my greatest strengths. I am a pattern seer.
Mhm.
And so what happened was when I first started and I was working as an assistant to that one agent, okay? This is a perfect example because she is a very strong archetype in the real estate
Mhm.
world. So at the time, she was probably about 75 to 78, somewhere in there. She's almost 80
Mhm.
years old, okay? Drove a big old teal green Cadillac with the beige leather top, you know?
Right, right. She had it going
And
on.
she did. And, she was at Prudential Florida Realty, and she was very, possessive over her leads. She had 2 assistants working for her, me and one other, both full-time. This was before the internet, before I mean, Microsoft Publisher was on floppy disk, okay? We made flyers by printing out cardstock and gluing photos to them.
Right.
So it was a different world. But the thing is that she was completely overwhelmed and stressed out and
Mhm.
running on a high octane level all the time. All the time. She was always angry. She was always tense. She was always frustrated. She was a mess. And that was my first sort of understanding of what it looked like to be an agent.
Mhm.
And then I saw that when I got my license, that they were training agents to do things like cold call for sale by owners, pull a bait and switch, say, "Hey, I have a buyer, I want to come preview your home," right? And then you go to preview the home and instead you hit them with a listing presentation, tell them why
Mhm.
they're dumb for trying to do it on their own, you know? And so the first thing that I picked up from that was, this feels icky. This is not in integrity. I feel like I'm lying to people. I won't do this. And so that was the first thing that came up for me. And then I said, you know what? I don't have any problem calling for sale by owners, but I want to offer value. I want to provide something for them. I don't want to bait and switch them. I don't want to read scripts. I don't want to be that person.
Got it. So now, Angela, let me ask you something because this is a curious question that comes up.
Hmm.
Basically, you listened to your body and your body went, yuck.
Hmm.
Now, our bodies can also go yuck when I'm up against some limiting belief, I'm fearful, right? So how do you sort of discern when is the yuck a violation of your integrity and
Yeah.
when is the yuck some fear that's coming up that should in a healthy way be overcome?
Sure. Well, it's interesting because this stuff I'm telling you about was over 30 years ago,
Right.
right? And I've been coaching agents for 23 years.
Mhm.
And I have gotten to the point, and I am answering your question, I've gotten to the point where I could sit down at a conference at the bar, doesn't matter which one, and didn't matter who sat down next to me. I could say, "Hey, I bet when you were in high school, you scored off the charts on all the standardized tests, but you didn't do your homework. And your teacher kept saying, 'Why don't you apply yourself?'" And they're like, "How do you know that?" And I'm like, "'Cause we were all like that."
Mm.
And so there is another thing that came up for me in coaching agents was realizing that every single one of them had walked away from childhood feeling like they did not have home the way they saw other people have it.
Mm.
And so these limiting beliefs that you're talking about, it's more than that. It's deeper than that. This is something that is saying my body is still running an old program that's
Mhm.
trying to protect me from something that no longer exists in my life.
Mhm.
And so all these feelings, whether it's I'm up against my integrity or I'm up against a limiting belief, it's really hard for agents to discern which one it is.
Mhm.
And often the times they don't have the awareness built in to understand which one it is or even what they should be discerning. They just know this doesn't feel good. So what happens is they say, I'll do that later. And this is where procrastination comes from. And then somebody says, you got to manage your time better. So they push themselves until they can't anymore. And so what happens is they run on this old cycle that's based on I'm not good enough. I'm not enough. Somebody is telling me I should be this, but I can't make myself this and I don't know why. So rather than think that the system is the problem or the script or the training or the coaching or the motivation, any of that is the problem, they still run their old childhood conditioned beliefs, which are usually the voices of other people in their lives, telling them that they are the problem and that they should be ashamed of themselves. So they are, when they are not the problem at all.
So what is the problem?
The problem is not understanding any of this. And so when you look at coaching and training and things like this, I wrote an article on this recently talking about even asking agents what they want. When you walk into a coach's office and you sit down or you get on a call with them, one of the first things they ask you is how much money you want to make. Most agents say, I want to make $100,000. That number is arbitrary to them in that moment. It's just, that's their idea of what they think is success, $100,000. So then you say, okay, well, here's how we're going to do that. We're going to backtrack this so we can figure out how many calls you need to make, how many houses you need to sell, all the same stuff we all know, right? But the point is that most agents are not money motivated. So the whole MREA model doesn't work for them. They're not money motivated. They don't want to be some, 7-figure earning agent. They just want to be happy and make a positive impact in the world. They want to help people feel good so that they can feel good. And so a lot of the coaching and training, it doesn't ask them what they want. It's just telling them, here's the goal. And the goal is always focused around money. But agents are not money motivated. They're heart motivated. They want to make an impact. They want to feel good. And they want to feel like they added value. And so when you start digging into how they perceive their goals, what it is that they actually want, and then how to get there, now we have something we can work with.
So what occurs to me is you're talking about the operating system. We're talking about authenticity.
Yes.
We're talking about when folks are aligned with their authentic selves, things tend to line up. And then the inevitable obstacles that happen in any business don't become the devastating roadblock. And do you find that people have resistance to even naming out loud what it is they love about what they do?
No.
Okay.
No, I find that they really enjoy connecting with humans. They enjoy being able to be of service to others. But what they have a problem with is the tactics that they're trained in into how to connect with those people. So, for instance, I have a whole bunch of different examples running through my head. There was an agent who took one of my classes. It was like a 5-day challenge that I did. And he had been separating himself, kind of compartmentalizing 2 different versions of himself. One was the agent version, and one was the actual him version. And who he actually was is a musician. He liked to play the guitar, and he would do folk songs for kids, and he's jeans and button-down shirts and very casual and comfortable and relaxed, very approachable, very genuine. And his real estate self was so completely and totally separate from that. And it was really interesting. So when he came to my class and we were talking about how to build your business from actually who you are instead of who they told you to be, then he started, I see videos of him now with his listings, and he's playing songs on his guitar as he's walking through the house showcasing a listing. And he's dressed the way he normally dresses. And he's being himself. And so because of that, there's more attention going out to him, to his work, people connecting with him because he's approachable. He's somebody that they want to get to know because he's being who he is.
Love that. So how you practiced real estate and then you transitioned into coaching over 20 years ago. And so what was the motivator for you? Where was your authentic self in that arc? Like what were you seeing that you wanted to heal in yourself and in other people?
Yeah, so I kind of stumbled into it, to be honest. So a lot of it from the beginning was I was doing fine in real estate. I was also kind of that person in the office that everybody would go to. saying, how did you come up with this marketing idea? I had this listing I can't sell. I don't know what to do with it. What should I do? You're creative. Hey, you took that class on the new MLS that nobody understands. Can you teach the other agents? I know they already learned it, but you explain it better. That kind of thing. And I enjoyed that. But when I started to have kids, I said, I want to be home. I want to really absorb this experience in being a mom. They're only going to be little so long. And I knew that I wanted to homeschool my kids. So that was something that was important to me too. I really wanted to be home with them. And so I had two little babies, and I said, this is what I want to do. So I shut down, basically said I was shutting down my real estate business. So what I actually meant by that is I stopped prospecting. And instead, I started reaching out to agents and said, hey, do you know anybody who needs some help with their marketing? And I just called every office in the phone book until I had enough clients to keep me going. And then that led into me going to the number one experts website. They created websites for agents. They had a directory on their front page. And this is before CAN spam laws. And so I went to every agent that had a number one experts website and sent them an email and said, hey, here's a bunch of stuff that I can do for you. Let me know if you need some help. And I had 10 clients just from that in 2 weeks. And so I ended up with 40 different clients around the country, Canada, the Caribbean, 10 people working for me. I was just sitting on the phone talking to my agents and walking them through whatever challenges or problems that they were having. And then somebody said, wow, that was better than my coach. And I'm like, coach, what are you talking about? What's this coach thing? And he's like, productivity coaching. And I'm like, huh. And in my mind, what hit me was, I don't know the first thing about productivity. I don't know how to manage my time. I'm terrible at that. My house is a mess. What is he talking about? That was better than his coach? Like, I'm a productivity coach? What is that? So I started figuring out, what is it that what do I notice in myself that I'm also noticing in my agents? And so I started connecting the patterns again, recognizing the patterns. And then I said, okay, if I need to fix this for myself, how can I fix this for me? And then translate that into how I can help other agents fix it. And so I started asking more questions of the agents, things more into their lives, their childhood, how they would eat, who they were partnered with, just everything. And I started to find all the same patterns running, all the same patterns. And that's when I said, okay, if we're all running on this same pattern, then we're all a very similar type. And we're dealing with the same problems. We're dealing with the same issues. And how is the industry addressing any of this? It's not. The industry is actually telling us to pretend it's not there and to do whatever they tell us to do anyway and ignore all of this. And so what happened was I was like, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. So I started telling agents, hey, you don't have to do that. We can figure out another way. And so I started basically working with them on time management and things like that and talking about productive flow. And instead of starting from an emotional standpoint, we were going to start from our focus and then go backwards, right? Instead of emotion, energy, time, and then focus, we were going to start with focus and then say, okay, how do we take what we want our lives to look like now and make that look like a calendar? And then how do we take that calendar and say, okay, how do I actually do these things by keeping up my energy to support that? And then when I have an emotion come up, which it's gonna, what do I do with it? And so that's what I started teaching. And then from there, I turned that into understanding how to even create the focus to begin with. Because most people didn't even know. I don't know what I want. I don't know how to figure out what I want. And then it was teaching them how to build their business based on who they are instead of numbers. And that part came from when I took that time out from my business and said, I just want to be with my kids. I want to homeschool. So what did I do? We didn't have social media. I went to Yahoo groups and I found some groups that were moms that wanted to homeschool their kids at some point. And so I joined some groups, found what I really connected with, and my real estate business took off without me doing anything, no prospecting, just being a part of that group. And I'm like, wait a minute, how did I do that? What happened here? Because I got to just show up and be me. I got to take my kids with me on showing appointments. I got to take my kids with me for play dates that turned into listing appointments. I'm like, wait, how did I do that?
Mm-hmm.
So that is how I built that whole concept of what I call local legend, was figuring out who you are, figuring out how to run your business on who you are so that your business doesn't feel like work anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, if you want to play pickleball all day long and make that how you build your business, then you can do that. There's a way to do it, and it feels good instead
Mm.
of heavy or weighted or pushing against the tide, you know?
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think too, it's interesting when you go back to the $100,000 money piece, and I had a friend who framed it this way, right? We think if I have the 100,000, I'll do all this stuff and then I'll be this type of person. But in reality, what I hear you saying is, who are you? Then do the things that that person would do, and then you'll have the things that you want. And what I find ironic about it is the more authentic people are, the more service they actually provide, because it doesn't feel like an add-on.
That's
It
right.
doesn't feel like, "Oh, I got these 5 kids and I said I'd go to the church and cook a meal now." Like, "Oh, look at how
Mhm,
great I am." Like, that's
mhm.
that's one paradigm. The other paradigm is, "Hey, I'm in the park playing with my kids and, oh, wow, they had another kid and they need a house. Like, let's have that conversation and see where that goes." Would
Yeah.
that be what we're talking about?
Yes, for the most part, yes. But it is about building relationships and
Mhm.
being connected to people. So using your example of, I've got 5 kids, I got to go to the church and make dinner or whatever, It's the thing is that being part of that, if that church is part of who they
Right.
are, and it's where their people are, then the more they
Yes.
connect in with those people, being of service in that environment,
Yes.
the more business is just going to fall into their lap on autopilot as a side effect.
Right. So you're absolutely right. And to clarify, for me, what that looks like is, if I'm doing that service because I think I should, and it's not coming from a place of abundance,
That's
my
right.
cup isn't flowing over, I'm like fried, and it's one more thing
It's
on my
not
to-do
serving
list.
you or anyone else.
Exactly. So I think what I hear you saying, it's about being your authentic self, and then being of service will naturally come out of being in the environment with the people that you connect with. And listen, I'm the same on my show. I mean, there's some people I like, there's some people, and it's funny, I was having a conversation with a buddy of mine recently, and he was all bent out of shape because someone didn't like him. And I said, "Joe, let me ask you a question. There's 8 billion people on the planet, right? Do you like everybody?" He goes, "No." I said, "So isn't it kind of arrogant to think that everybody should like you?" And I said, "And you know what? It's not a question of right or wrong or good or bad. It's just some people get invited to the picnic and some people I just say hello to in the supermarket." And what I hear you saying, it's about creating that environment where you're around your people.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's about understanding who your people are and who they aren't,
Mhm.
to your point, and then saying, I want to be around my people. And my
Mm.
people want to be around me too. And
Yeah.
so when you kind of take that and say, I'm going to show up in this way and I want to be this kind of person because this feels fulfilling to me.
Mhm.
And these people make me feel good
Mhm.
about being there for them, and it's mutual. They're also there for me. I like this environment. Real estate is universal, okay?
Mhm.
Everybody needs a place to live.
Right.
So where you find your people is irrelevant. You don't have to put out the ads and the funnels and the postcards and, farm neighborhoods and all. That's one way to do it, sure. But it's not the only way.
Mm.
And so it's like the millionaire real estate agent model that was written for an agent that exists. That
Mhm.
agent exists, but it's a tiny fraction
Right.
of all the agents that we have in the environment, right? And so all these agents, the majority of them are being told that money is the goal,
Mhm.
but money is just a means to an end. And so if they don't understand what the end result is that they want that money for, then they have no connection to it.
Right.
There's nothing driving them forward. But if they say, I want to be the kind of person that gets to stay home with their kids. And I also really love houses and I love helping people find home. And I love seeing families thrive in their home. And I love seeing what they build and do in their homes. Well, then maybe you figure out how to build your business on that.
Mhm.
And that's what lights you up. That's what motivates you.
Got it. And what you're describing is your productivity flow method, what we've been talking about,
Well, yeah, I call it the rooted agent method.
the rooted
So
agent
it,
method.
yes. And so it combines something that I call heart print, which is understanding all those things about who you are and who you're
Mhm.
not. And then moving that to productive flow so that you're removing all the obstacles that are standing in your way of being and doing it. So you can actually be consistent in your efforts and not cycle through overwhelm and shutdown and all of
Mm.
those things. And it also addresses all the emotional triggers that show up for you when you try to do something and then you find that you can't quite make yourself do it. You
Mhm.
know, that I know what to do, I'm just not doing it problem. So that's where we solve that. And then we move into local legend, which is transforming all of this that they've just discovered and created into an actual business model that produces business for them on the regular.
Mm. Wow,
Yes.
this is great stuff, Angela.
Thank you.
So, where do you practice?
All over the place.
In other words, you're coaching real estate folks all around the country?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and even people outside of real estate, but for the most part I hone in on the real estate industry.
Got it. And what's the name of your company?
Master Agent Life.
Okay. And
Yep.
how do people get in touch with you?
Go to www.rootedagentmethod.com and you'll find all my stuff. There's links, there's programs, there's all kinds of, there's a free rooted agent reset. There's a place to book breakthrough sessions. It's all right there.
Great. What brings you joy? Like, can you think of someone specifically recently where they had a breakthrough where you just basically witnessed them sort of rebirthing themselves and what that occurred to you as?
I have so many of those. I love those. And
Mm.
I'll tell you, one of my favorites is it wasn't even a real estate agent. She's an interior designer. And she came to me asking if being an equestrian interior designer was too small of a niche.
Mm.
And I said, I don't think so. Yeah, there's people that like horses. You're a horsewoman. Why not? And so she started to do that. And all of a sudden she was being interviewed by, Equestrian Living magazine, and she was on equestrian podcasts. And then she had an equestrian shop and she was curating her own things for the equestrian shop. And she was doing equestrian design. And then she moved across the country because she realized that the location she was in was not where she wanted to be. And so
Mm.
she moved across the country. And when she did, she had to start her whole business from scratch again. And she said, I don't even know what to do. And so she started connecting with real estate agents. And it was funny because she realized that there were so many agents and they knew all the equestrian people and they were selling all the equestrian estate homes. But she really had a hard time kind of breaking through to gaining their trust. And she felt like, I'm in the wrong room. I feel like I'm just in the wrong room. And so she ended up creating the Luxury Equestrian Network. And that now has a magazine and chapters in different parts of the country. And she just signed up her first global ambassador. And now she's created this worldwide reach, all from being focused on horses. And it
Mm.
all started with a horse that she had from when she was a child and the relationship that she had developed with that horse and had until the horse died. And it was in her grief from losing her horse that she wanted to build this whole equestrian thing. And it was just one thing that led to something else to something else. And now she's making this huge impact and she has events all over the world and a magazine that gets global reach. And all of this from saying, is equestrian too small of a niche?
Mm.
It was beautiful.
Love that. What a great story. Angela, this was a great episode. Thank you so much. I feel inspired, and thank you for sharing all of this. And if folks want to reach out, entrepreneurs, real estate folks, and line up with their authentic self and create this life for themselves, they should reach out to you.
Thank you. Cool. So I have two different things that I've created so far. So one is what I call Rowan. So she is kind of a coaching companion for any of the agents that are in my program. And she is trained in all of my methodology. So they can throw any problem that they're having, whether it's life, nutrition, their relationship, their business, any of it, into there. And she will help coach them through whatever it is and connect it back into their real estate business, show them the impact and make that connection of the patterns. And then I have what I call the Heartprint Oracle. And so this one's a really cool thing. So what it does is once they finish the program and they have all of their Heartprint work in front of them, and then they take that and they plug their answers into it, along with their human design chart, their gene keys profile, their astrological profile, which it shows them where to get those profiles. And all they have to do is upload the PDF. And then they answer some questions about their goals, their challenges, and then it prints out basically like this 16-section report. And it includes a 14-day action plan. It gives them all their information kind of put back in front of them. And then it ends with this permission letter that goes through all of the lies that they've been told about themselves and shows them the actual truth behind it and the strength that it lends them in their life and in their work. It's really powerful. Yeah.
Wonderful. All right, Angela. Thank you. And thank you for watching Real Estate Rewired with Gus Wade. If you're interested in being on the show, go ahead and DM me, leave a comment. Remember, AI turns what you love into a superpower and takes what you hate off your plate. Thanks for watching. If you've got value from today's episode, hit subscribe, leave a comment. I'd love to know what you're thinking. If you are ready to turn what you love into your superpower and take what you hate off your plate, schedule your free AI discovery call. The link is in the description and pinned comment. I'm Gus Wade. Until next time.